is going on, Only Playbook fans? The Super Bowl week is officially here. We are one football game away from the NFL season ending and us drowning in our tears. But up until that happens, there's 6 days left to forecast, predict, preview, speculate as much as we can for the Super Bowl that's coming up. We are going to talk all about it. We're going to talk about the game, bets, a lot of interesting things going on in the NFL that we want to dig into a little bit. I'm Sweetcard. That's Shishot. That's Shovit. What's going on, guys? How are you guys feeling heading into Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm so excited. I'm ready. I mean, this is the last game of the year, man. I've already started the countdown for the draft for next year. This is going to be, and it's like 205 days until the draft that we have. So I'm going to soak in all of that I can from the Super Bowl and just enjoy every moment of it.
Dude, so like I've been away from home for since like 2016 now, right? Like very long time that I haven't like stayed at home, my parents' home, and they have never visited me wherever I've been this whole time. So they're coming to visit this weekend, and everybody was excited about it until we realized their flight home is like during the Super Bowl.
Oh,
Dude.
no.
So I think they'll be able to watch it on the plane. The time frame works, but my dad's like, shit, like can we just postpone this? So yeah, it's really funny. But another thing is, I would highly recommend a Magic Mouse by Apple. This thing is amazing, phenomenal. So if you don't have one, you need to get one. Not sponsored.
This
Damn.
is the first
What?
time I'm hearing about this Magic Mouse.
Yeah,
What's so
I've never.
special about
Yeah,
it?
what?
Dude, it's amazing. So battery life is great. Sensitivity is out of this world. You can literally place it on anything, and you can use the mouse. And yeah, just
Yeah.
clickability, aesthetics. It's nice, and you can scroll on the pad itself. Like I'm scrolling right now without an actual scroller and stuff like that. So yeah, it's nice.
How much is the mouse?
I have no idea. I just bought it. I didn't even look it up.
What? Damn.
I'm not sure what the price is.
Damn, that's yeah. I always plug in the regular mouse on the laptop, and it doesn't seem like it works very well. But so I'm intrigued by that. But it's an
Yeah.
Apple product, so I wouldn't be surprised if that thing's like $80 or more.
Dude, one of the best things that I've purchased from Apple is the Apple AirTag. Since we're just gonna go out and talk about Apple, dude. Apple AirTag. I put that on my wallet. I put that on my keys. I have pinged that thing like 10 times in the past week.
Yeah,
It's
God
blessed
knows
me.
you need it more. You should be the spokesperson for Apple.
Yeah.
For real. AirPods, laptop, everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I looked it up on the spot. Apple Magic Mouse. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if that thing's
Is
$80 on
that,
Best Buy, 79.99.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Maybe one day, maybe when I'm not getting married. But anyways, we have to talk about football. Let's stop talking about Apple. They're not sponsoring us. But we have so much to talk about. Let's jump into it with water cooler talk. Biggest news until it's not the biggest news. Tom Brady is officially announced his retirement. Allegedly came out with a video. I mean, this time it seems for real because he's already gone on and signed a contract with Fox to be their head broadcaster
Mhm.
starting fall of 2024, which obviously does still leave the 2023 window open on the off chance that he wants to be like, screw it, I'm going to come back for one last rodeo, right? I think it's interesting that he signed his contract for the fall of 2024 when typically the next season would be fall of 2023. So either he's going to retire and take a ton of time off and just, get away from football, which I don't blame him, or again, he's leaving that window of opportunity to be like, if I find the right opportunity and they're just a quarterback away, I can slide right in there and win another Super Bowl. So, are you guys convinced that Brady's officially done?
Yeah, I think I'm officially convinced. I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
that old. You got some things to do. You got the life after football and life after marriage that he's got to deal with. I think some time away is very much needed for Tom Brady.
Yeah, and for his legacy, I was thinking about this, right? Like the best way for a leader, like a iconic player, is they rise up. They rise up really fast, but they need to fall down like a feather. And so that's kind of what Tom Brady did. He last year, fantasy wise, like he had great numbers. He led the team into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. This year was like not so great. Still got to the playoffs. I think this is the perfect time to end it before you become the villain in this show.
Yeah, or before again football defeats you and he gets
Right.
some gruesome injury that ends his career. Right?
Right.
Nobody wants to see the greats go out that way. So officially, unofficially, whatever, Brady is no longer a active NFL player. Couple of hirings to go through. 49ers filled the defensive coordinator position. D'Amico Ryans, their defensive coordinator, is now the head coach of the Texans. So they go ahead and hire Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks has a ton of experience in the NFL. Most recently, he was the interim defensive coach and interim head coach for the Panthers. They thought he was going to get that job, but he didn't. So I think it's a really nice kind of plug and play where you lose D'Amico Ryans, you get Steve Wilks, and the defense has a ton of talent. So I don't think there's going to be much drop off there. Other teams filling defensive positions. Vikings hire Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator, taken from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Flores has been in the headlines for a couple years now with the allegations when he was back with Miami as a head coach. But a guy who was being interviewed for possible head coaching candidacies, to get him as a defensive coordinator, I think it's a big win, especially on a team with still a really young, offensive-minded head coach. Another notable retirement, AJ Green is hanging up his cleats after 12 seasons with the Bengals and the Cardinals. Had some awesome years with Andy Dalton as his quarterback, Pro Bowls, whatever, 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Probably go down as one of the better receivers that we got to watch in our lifetime. So he is going to officially call it quits. Couple more coaching hires. Saints are expected to hire former Browns defensive coordinator Joe Woods as their own defensive coordinator. Again, they are needing to fill that position. Interesting hire, though. Joe Woods wasn't that great with Cleveland. Their defense wasn't that great either, but he has some connection with Dennis Allen, and I think they have that camaraderie, so that's why they were bringing him on. Panthers filled the defensive coordinator position, not by Steve Wilks, but actually Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos. He was one of the lead candidates for most defensive coordinator positions. It seemed like he interviewed with a lot of teams, but ultimately it came down to the Panthers having the young talent that he can kind of step right in and deploy. So he is going to be their defensive coordinator. And then the Cowboys, who officially let go of Kellen Moore, they have hired Brian Schottenheimer as their offensive coordinator. Son to former NFL coach Marty Schottenheimer. Brian also has a ton of experience. He's been around the league. So it'll be interesting to see if their offense can improve there. Those are all of the most recent coaching hires, things like that, officially things to have note. Any news, anything outside of actually the NFL, the game itself that you guys wanted to talk about? I don't know if you guys tuned in any of the Pro Bowl stuff, but I didn't really. You did? Oh, I mean, enlighten me. I didn't really tune into much. Was there anything fun to watch?
Yeah, dude, the flag football game was a lot of fun to watch. I don't know, there was a lot of shit talking by a lot of fans because it was different. It was very different, but they were like a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is cringe." But you see some things like you see these players outside of how we normally see them, and that excites me. It's like seeing Obama out on the street, right? Like it's out of his normal realm, so you want to see how he acts. So it was interesting to see all this like the accurate passing and stuff. Derek Carr did really well. Obviously, he was probably one of the better quarterbacks out there. But the flag football was really cool. Like NFC was down towards the end and came back with 3 straight touchdowns towards the end. It was pretty impressive. Like it was just a little exciting to watch a lot of these things. I didn't get to watch all of it, but just certain things like the Vikings players were in. There was this Justin Jefferson, like someone, I think Matt Leinart threw a pass from the other side of the Eiffel Tower or something. It was just the highlight they showed. Like he threw from the other side of the Eiffel Tower to the other side through the thing. I think it was more about like Matt Leinart making that pass rather than Justin Jefferson catching it. But they showed like a clip of that. I was like, damn, that's kind of impressive.
Is it like an edit? Were they actually in Paris? Like, what do you mean? He threw it through the Eiffel Tower? I'm so lost.
We'll pull up the video later and see.
Okay.
Saw a glance of this ball going through the Eiffel Tower to the other side and Justin Jefferson catching it. So I was like, okay, that's some weird stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was exciting.
when there's not an actual game going on, they have to try to spice it up every which way they can, right?
Dude, little kid us would have ate that shit up.
Oh, dude. I mean, flag football sounds awesome. Again, like you said, no pads, no hitting. So a lot of these athletes get to, put their athleticism even more on display. And that makes for, a great fun action to watch for sure. So, all right, guys, let's get into it. Super Bowl 57 preview, Chiefs, Eagles. Let's kick it off into the rundown. Philadelphia is favored in this matchup by 1 point. The line has moved, I think, over the last week. Chiefs were favored. Philly was favored. Philly opened up like 2.5-point favorites. It's moved down. I think at one point it was a pick 'em. So there is kind of movement every which way. Over under sitting at 51. It's happening in Arizona, so they have the retractable roof. The weather should not be an issue. It should not impact the game at all. Where do you guys want to start? Because, again, I have a lot here. There's storylines galore. The matchups made in heaven. There's specific player and position matchups that are, really, really top tier, and it's going to be fun to talk about. But do you guys have a spot that you want to talk first about, or what you think is going to be most key heading into this game?
Not particularly. Like you said, there's a lot of headlines, so I just took a note of all these things that stood out to me. I was like, this is actually happening. Like these two teams were meant to play each other. I mean, it's like the eye test from day one. You can just tell these two teams had something that other teams didn't. 49ers were one of those teams, but injuries really screwed them up. But outside of these three teams, there's really like who was ever going to compete with them, right? Like it maybe the Bengals, but didn't work out. So there's a lot of reasons us as viewers casually watching this game, we gravitate towards the greatness of these two teams. And now I have some data to like make it even weirder, right? So I guess I'll start off by giving some of these data points that I found. So both the teams are the number one seed, right? Doesn't always play out like that where two number one seeds play each other. But not only that, but both teams are 14-3. Both Eagles had a 133 point positive point differential. The Chiefs had a 127 point positive point differential. Both teams won 7 games at home and 7 games on the road. Both teams won. Both teams played and won at State Farm Stadium where they're about to play. You know how many games the Cardinals won at their stadium?
One, I think. Yeah.
So whoever wins this game is going to have more wins than the home team that owns that turf, which is very sad. And then both teams have a Kelsey brother, right? I don't know if you guys saw that Kelsey brother podcast with her mom came on. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool to watch. Must be like that's like goals. But both head coaches were used to be employed by the other team, right? So Sirianni actually got fired by Andy Reid when Andy Reid got hired. So that was pretty cool. Little payback game here, little revenge game, under the table revenge game. Both starting quarterbacks are from Texas. Both teams have played in a Super Bowl in the last 5 years. Both teams led their conference in sacks, which is, matters. You got to have good defense. At the end of the day, we talk about all these offensive powers, but you got to get the ball back to your offense. And then both teams allowed the same number of points the last 2 games they played in the playoffs. So dominant offenses, dominant defenses, a lot of star power, not only on the field, but from a coaching standpoint too. These two are unanimously in the top tier as far as coaching goes. Like when we hear these names, we're like, okay, these guys have it under control. And then both teams were involved in a star wide receiver trade in the offseason. So AJ Brown and then Tyreek Hill, just other way around, right? So a lot of weird little stats like that. But at the end of the day, like we always knew, whether we knew it or we didn't, deep down inside, we all knew the Eagles and Chiefs are definitely the teams to beat.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this is like the football viewer's dream, right? You mentioned it, like number one playing against the number one from the AFC versus the NFC. Like, what more could you ask for in terms of a Super Bowl? But yeah, I'm looking forward to Patrick Mahomes just kind of building that legacy. I mean, being able to be the one of the most dominant teams that we've seen in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles, with one foot. His injury concerns are probably still there. He's not as mobile, but for him to be able to do that just puts him a tier above, like, anything that he's already been in. If there's anyone that's doubting Patrick Mahomes' ability and saying that he's, just lucky or he's overhyped, now is the time for Patrick Mahomes to shine. And I'm looking for him to prove those doubters wrong. But he's got a tough task against the offense. I mean, the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defensive line is amazing. The cornerbacks are amazing. We talked about them. And in terms of how this game is going to go, I mean, I think that like the Kansas City Chiefs have really come out and prove that they can play good defense against elite teams. Like last week against the Bengals, being able to stop Chase and Higgins as much as they could, being able to stop Burrow, that's going to mean a lot when you have to face, the AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. So I expect the Eagles to try to counter that by running the ball more. I think that Dallas Goedert is going to be utilized more, as well as, there's defensive playing that two high shells, the Kansas City defense. So I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. Eagles to run the ball to kind of like demolish this Kansas City defense. Whether or not the Chiefs are able to stop that, that's going to be interesting to see. But there's that Patrick Mahomes factor. You never know the magic that he can bring. So I'm looking forward to seeing this game just for those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It is. It's a match made in heaven. The best teams, I feel like, are representative of their conference in the Super Bowl this year, and a lot of the numbers absolutely back that up. Kansas City's offense is number one in the league in yards per game. They're number one in the league in the passing yards per game, and they're number one in the league in points per game. Right, so they have the absolute, probably best offense in football. Philadelphia's offense, and no slouch either. They're third in yards per game, ninth in passing yards per game. They're also good at running, though. They're fifth in rushing yards per game, and then they're third in points per game. So they're about as complete an offense as possible. They can hurt you with the pass, they can hurt you with the run, and there's no shortage of scoring for them either. Now, the defense is a little bit more one-sided, but Kansas City, across the grand scheme of the regular season, they held their own. I think they had moments of weakness, but like you said, Shovit, when push came to shove in a playoff game last week, which these stats don't technically reflect, they have players and they have teams, and Spagnuolo draws up a great game plan to get the team ready to play, right? Kansas City's defense, they're 11th in the league in yards allowed, but they're 8th in rushing yards allowed. So they're not part of their weakness. Their weakness is their pass defense, but their rush defense is actually pretty good, and that's what Philly is notorious for doing, is running the football, right? So the matchups are made. Now Philly is going to have to utilize the pass game a lot, and I don't think they're going to struggle doing that because they can pass every which way. But knowing how well they stopped Burrow, Higgins, Chase, that trifecta, I mean, from a pure passing perspective, you're probably taking Joe Burrow over Jalen Hurts, right? And the receivers are probably just, butting heads in terms of how good the duo tandems are. But the difference is going to have to be Hurts's legs. That is going to have to be the key. Chris Jones was blowing up the interior for the Bengals, but the interior of the Philadelphia Eagles arguably has one of the best centers of all time, of this generation, currently playing in the NFL, and Jason Kelsey, right? So there is a true horse and true whatever elephant mammoth of a man there that's going to try to stop that other horse mammoth of a man. So that is going to be a great matchup there. But you look at the other side, Creed Humphrey, PFF's number one graded center in football, right? Kelsey was number two. Creed Humphrey's number one. So that interior line for both sides is actually, one of the best parts of their offensive line. So you have Fletcher Cox, you have Jordan Davis, you have those guys going against Creed Humphrey. And then on the other side, you have Chris Jones going against Jason Kelsey. So again, just you look to an area and the matchups are ridiculous. I mean, you have Smith and Brown against L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. You have obviously these random receivers against big play Slay and Bradbury. But the one place that I have, the biggest question mark on it, and it, it's obviously one of the biggest places that needs to be addressed, is Travis Kelsey. Who is going to guard Travis Kelsey? I think, we've seen last week before that, heading into the end of the season, we were like, okay, have defenses they've been double teaming Kelsey. They have a safety over the top, and they have a guy that plays him kind of on the inside and a guy that also plays him on the outside. But despite all that, all Kelsey does is he realizes that that's happening, and he turns around right in between all three of the defenders, still catches the ball. So there has not been a way to stop Kelsey. The Eagles, if you're looking at maybe their one area of weakness in their defense, it's maybe their linebacking play. So is it going to be a safety that comes up and guards Kelsey? Are they going to use their nickel corner to guard Kelsey? Are they going to use a combination? That's going to be the key. There is no matchup against Travis Kelsey, so that's kind of what I'm looking out for. And then the tackles for the Chiefs. Orlando Brown Jr. and Andrew Wiley, they're average tackles, but they're going up against superior pass rushers in Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. So I think that pressure is going to get there for Patrick Mahomes. So how healthy really is that high ankle sprain? And let's not also forget the fact that Jalen Hurts, couple weeks removed, also was dealing with that injury, right, to his shoulder, and so he wasn't 100%. He came back quicker than the I guess the proclaimed timeline, and so there's probably a chance that both quarterbacks going into this game are not at full strength. Again, who's going to give first? How many scrambles is Mahomes going to have to do with that pass rush to where that high ankle starts to bother him again? I think those are the things that I'm looking out for. But guys, you mentioned it. It's just I can point to every position, every matchup, every group of positions as well, and the matchups write themselves. So this is truly a spectacle for NFL fans, and I cannot wait to watch this. I personally still lean Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is just such a complete team, and all it takes is one wrong scramble for Mahomes, and then the entire Chiefs team is going to be scrambling quite literally. So his injury, pair that with Philadelphia being such a complete football team, and the fact that they do have an Achilles heel, the Chiefs do, with their pass defense, there is places to exploit them. So I lean Philadelphia. I don't know which way you guys are kind of leaning.
Is Jarius Sneed going to be playing this game? It was a pretty bad injury last game, but I don't recall anything about his injury just yet. I haven't seen any like for sure information. But
Um,
that's going to be a huge factor. He is like their best tackler in the IDP
he's
league.
cleared. Yeah, he's cleared concussion protocol. Will play on Sunday.
Okay, cool. So that's huge because if he wasn't playing, then a lot of people probably wouldn't even know that as being a main factor. But game's over if he's not playing. The game's over because he's been the heart and soul of that defense as far as the secondary goes for sure. He's present on every play. He gets like over 7 tackles a game. He's there all the time. So if he wasn't playing, there would be a lot of scrambling and a lot of finger pointing in that backfield. But because he's playing, I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but I think that's something to monitor because if he's like limited or anything like that, it's going to be a little bit of an issue. But yeah, man, like it's pretty obvious. Like these are the two teams as far back in the season I can remember. Like I have not hyped up any teams more than these two teams this whole season. So I have nothing but good things to say about both. But here, this is how I kind of justify the situation. Like if things were to go bad for Kansas City early, they may be kind of screwed. If things were to go bad for early for the Eagles, there's still hope all game long, right? Like that's what a complete unit does for you. You can get the ball back with your defense. You can start running the ball. You can start throwing the ball. You can do whatever you want. Versus the Chiefs, if something goes wrong, if Kelsey goes down, injuries aside, if somehow they're covering a lot of their obvious plays, if Mahomes can't scramble out, like the game's pretty much over. The Chiefs they're definitely the weaker team here. The only thing that's keeping me in line is because they have the greatest quarterback of all time. So every game, there's hope, there's chance. But if you take Patrick Mahomes away from the Chiefs, they're not even making the playoffs, in my opinion. They're back down to it's a serious situation with this bad defense. They're making good plays here in the offseason, but how consistent is it? Is it going to be able to hold the most complete run heavy, but also I can satisfy two wide receivers over 1,000 yards kind of offense? It's tough to say. So I think mistakes are huge for this game. If the Chiefs make mistakes early, rip. If the Eagles make mistakes early, there's still hope. So I think the Chiefs just have to play lights out. It's hard to, it's easy to say, harder to do against this Eagles defense, but you guys have kind of exploited some holes, right? Middle of the field. Middle of the field is where Kelsey lives. So that's a huge positive thing. Just do what you normally do. But again, it's a Super Bowl. Everybody's prepared for everything. People have 2 weeks to prepare for games like this. Everybody's going to be on their best behavior. That's why it's going to be so exciting to watch. Like, it's two great coaches, and we'll just see what the scheming situation looks like.
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I said that the Bengals are going to beat the Chiefs because I thought the Bengals were more of a complete team than the Chiefs were. And then there was the X factor that I didn't consider, which is Patrick Mahomes. And that's what it comes down to. Like you have 40 seconds to win a game, and Patrick Mahomes makes an incredible run to get the first down. Yeah, he got helped by the penalty, but then he puts them in a position that they can win the game, and that's what he is. And so, just for that reason, I think that you can never take them out. I know that Philadelphia is favored, but I think that the game script is going to align to allowing Patrick Mahomes to have a chance to be able to defeat the Eagles. So for that reason, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice, but we'll see how it goes at the after Sunday.
Yeah, there's a reason the line is what it is. There's a reason it makes it really hard to pick. They're really, really well-rounded teams in their own rights, and they match up really well together. And you can make the line a little bit more had the quarterback for the Chiefs, again, like you said, not been maybe the greatest quarterback of all time, right? I think he keeps that line from being Philly -3 or Philly -3.5. Like there's a reason it's that one. It's like, oh, well, you got Patrick Mahomes. If he can beat you in 10 seconds, then you have to respect him with the line. But speaking of line, let's end the episode talking about a couple of bets that I have reviewed and some just kind of quirky bets. Super Bowl comes with a ton of props, too many props that you should probably not bet, but that's how they kind of reel you in. They're like, oh, this sounds cool. Gatorade color, national anthems length, like the dumbest things ever. But I'll kick us off. I have a couple of actual real bets, and then we can jump into some of the random ones. We talked about Philadelphia being a complete team. They're great against the pass. They're great in total yards per game. Where they lack on their defensive side is against the run. That has been the one weakness that's been exploited for them this year. So I do like Isaiah Pacheco over 50 plus rushing yards. It comes in at minus 105, so it's fairly even odds. We've seen, again, we saw the hype for Jerick McKinnon as a pass catcher out of the backfield for fantasy purposes. But then when push came to shove, you had mentioned it, they're still leaning Pacheco. Heading into next year, you're definitely leaning towards drafting Pacheco and drafting him pretty high with the way he's trending. And I think this is a big game. And that's the one area of weakness that Philadelphia may even have or pose. So for that reason, I think the Chiefs may lean into that running game. Pacheco runs hard. I like his over at 50 rushing yards. And then on the other side, Devontae Smith as a pass catcher. We have L'Jarius Sneed. He's a great corner, but Devontae Smith more than likely is going to match up against rookie Trent McDuffie, who's had a great year, but he is a rookie. It is the biggest stage of them all. And anytime A.J. Brown has a decent matchup in terms of defense, Devontae Smith feasts, and his receiving yards over 60 and a half at coming in at minus 125. I'm looking for him to have a big game. Again, we talked about Isaiah Pacheco as a running back as exploiting the defense for Philly. Well, Kansas City's defense is exploited against the pass, right? So that's why if you're not throwing to Snead, you're going to throw the other way. Devontae Smith is basically a wide receiver one going up against a rookie cornerback. So give me Devontae Smith over 60 receiving yards. And then on the defensive side of the ball, guys, one random bet. I have Josh Sweat to record a sack at plus 135. I just think Hassan Reddick is going to demand all of the attention. Kelsey typically lines up on that side. Andrew Wiley's a little bit better of a tackle on that side. So you have Orlando Brown Jr. against Josh Sweat. I think he's going to see a lot more one-on-one matchups versus Hassan Reddick. And I think even in the middle, Fletcher Cox is going to draw Creed Humphrey. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Sweat on the outside. And pair that with the fact that Mahomes is kind of a shifty, scrambly, try to get out of the pocket kind of guy. So if he, senses pressure and he scrambles to the left, there's a good chance Josh Sweat's going to be there at plus 135. I like the value there. Those are the three, legit bets that I have. And then I wrote down a couple of random bets. We talked about this before the podcast, but I think it's still worth mentioning because it's a nice debate. Who is going to score the first touchdown? And it's not even, picking the first touchdown scorer, but it's picking the over under of the jersey number that touchdown scorer is going to wear. And my book has the line set at 11.5. So if we don't think about this line, guys, if you just had to take first touchdown scorer for this football game, don't even think about jersey number, don't even think about anything. Where does your mind gravitate towards immediately? First guy that comes to mind.
Miles Sanders.
Fuck, man. Miles Sanders.
Wow. Okay. So it is a consensus. Miles Sanders is going to score the first touchdown. So that means we think Philadelphia is going to run. So
the numbers, what's Gainwell's number? 14?
Yeah, Gainwell is also above that. Boston Scott's below that, but he's not going to get that. So are we thinking that Philadelphia as a rushing touchdown is the most likely outcome as the first touchdown of the game?
I think that if they have the ball, then yes, Miles Sanders is the most likely outcome. And then if Kansas City has the ball, then I think Kelsey is the most likely option there.
We also need to look up how many times these teams have won the coin toss and deferred. Because if they're deferring most times, then you automatically go to the other team. You know what I mean? So that's something of note before you.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, if I'm guessing, I'm probably guessing that whoever wins the coin toss in this matchup is going to defer, but you never know. I mean, you could be trying to be aggressive, come out and try to go ahead. But that's an interesting one. The other one that I thought was interesting was Gatorade color. We talked about this last year too. It's always just basic, which again, I'm pretty sure odds makers know that it's basic to think that the color is going to be the team that wins whatever their color is, right? So you have Philadelphia, who is kind of a bluish green. Maybe they're more a green, honestly. But Kansas City, who is like more of a reddish orange. But blue is plus 200 and orange is plus 250.
Hold on. You have a little bit of colorblind situation, right?
Yeah, no, I know that their jerseys are actually red, but Kansas City logo does have a hint of orange in it, right? I'm not crazy.
What's wrong with the Eagles?
Oh, are the Eagles completely? Would they just be considered green then?
They're
Completely?
just totally green.
Okay.
The blue is the most liked and common Gatorade. It's like in the last 3 of the last 4 years, blue has been the one that has won. So, I mean, I feel like because of that, regression to the mean, I'm not picking blue. Last time the Kansas City Chiefs won a championship, I think they had an orange Gatorade. And so for me, I think orange And it makes sense for the Eagles to have orange too. Like, like, I don't know, for the fact that they're playing against Kansas City, they're spilling out orange Gatorade. I don't know. That makes sense to me too. So I'm going with orange and not blue this year.
Damn, dude, like they probably don't they like it's been 18, 19 games now, right? For each team. They've been drinking Gatorade all season long. They probably know which flavor the teams like. So if we go back and check every single game and just look at the color of the Gatorade they've been drinking, I assume whatever they've been using is what's going to be used now. Why would they change it now to like purple?
So don't quote me, but I think that this is determined by Gatorade executives, and they
Yeah, I don't.
randomize it, and so the players don't even know what Gatorade, like, unless they pour it, then that's when they find out what Gatorade that
Wow,
they are
that's
drinking.
shocking.
Yeah, yeah.
Very shocking.
I mean, if you believe in the whole Arian Foster script thing, then all the players
Mhm.
probably already know what color it is. To be honest, they're probably
Yeah,
already
well,
getting ready.
if you believe in that, then there's that. Did you guys see the tweet that came
Final
out?
score,
The
yeah.
final score. I think the Eagles win by 3 points or something like that.
37-34 Philadelphia. What's funny about that is people like there's so much to be said about superstitions that that exact Super Bowl score odds initially came out at plus 25,000, right? 37-34 Philly. And I think this morning it's down to plus 8,000. That is
Wow.
how much that exact
Wow.
score has been bet now, that people truly believe that the NFL could be scripted, blah, blah, blah. And what's crazy is this could all be Arian Foster could secretly be working for the sports books, right? Not the NFL. For this, he's a retired NFL player, right? So he's working for the sports book. He puts out this prior to Super Bowl that the NFL could be rigged. It's scripted, blah, blah, blah. And then you see somebody, all they had to do is go to this webpage and change the score and like actually input that and just be like, okay, I'm just messing around. I can put this in like 10 minutes early. It's like going on Wikipedia. I can go back and delete it. But they just put it out into the world. And now how many people are losing money predicting that that's going to be the final score of the game? Now, is there a wild chance that it could be? Sure. But there is, I don't see it. I don't see
But
that happening.
in that chance that it's 37-34, I mean, everything that you've thought about gets
Oh,
questioned at that point.
if the final score is 37-34, the NFL is rigged. 1,000%. You could not convince me otherwise.
Man,
Yeah.
dude. First of all, I don't see uh, Eagles defense allowing 34 points. That's just not going to happen. But you know what's funny is like if I were to just guess, I would have probably guessed like 31-27. But yeah, I mean, dude, this whole rig thing is kind of enticing because we'll just never know. We'll just never know. There's always things behind things. I remember one of
And
our
there could be a level to it, right? It's not like we're asking you to step here in week one. It's just like,
yeah.
more general than that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's crazy how blindfolded we are. Like if you one of our friends, Anish, he's a huge MMA fan, and I brought up the idea that it could be rigged, and he was so butthurt. It was like it hurt his soul that I said it. He was like, "No way, they have so much integrity," and I'm like, "I've seen some movies. He could easily slip like 4 million, and someone could lose a fight." But so yeah, I mean that could very well be happening. We will just not know that unless the score is 37-34.
That's
Oh my
it.
God, let the propaganda begin. I almost hope it's not 37-34 because the
I hope it is.
the weeks, the days, the months after that, it's just going to be nothing but propaganda, propaganda. DeMar Hamlin's not alive. He's got a stunt double, just whatever else you can pull out of your butt, man. But yeah, you're right. It would make for great content for people like us who have nothing better to do than talk about this shit. So that's it. That's all the bets I had. Anything interesting that you saw? Any last minute words of wisdom before Super Bowl for people maybe that are Eagles fans or Chiefs fans? I guess whatever, dude. Both these teams have won a Super Bowl in the
Yeah,
last 5 years. Their fans are not
we're
suffering
fine.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I did have one bet, or I had two bets. One is the Chris Stapleton national anthem, which is at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, which seems outrageously long for a rock artist. I'm assuming he's rock. He's rocker country, right? Like,
Yeah,
how slow
sure,
can you be?
maybe.
Big
And
difference. If it's country,
Hey,
big.
but you know what's funny about that, Shovit, is how slow can you be? But if he's a rock or country, or let's say he's a rock guy, right? He could have like an entire 30-second just guitar solo in the middle of the thing just to lengthen it, and you'd like have $100 on it. You'd be like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Why are you throwing in a stupid solo? You're a disgrace to America. You're ruining the anthem. And then if you have the over, you're like, yeah, man, keep swinging it.
keep
Like, give us an
shredding.
extra solo. Yeah, just keep shredding. But dude, you're right. I think I remember last year, and don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure the line was like 1 minute 52
Yes,
or 1 minute 54
it
seconds,
was,
right?
and
It was something in that.
Right, and I
And it
think
went
the
under?
under. It was under last year as well. So Chris Stapleton, 2 minute 5 seconds. Give me
All right,
under on that one as well.
this is how we figure this out. This is how we figure this out.
Okay,
We listen to every single Chris Stapleton song, find the BPM in each song, take the average of that, and then compare it to every other singer that has done the national anthem in the past, and compare it to their songs and the BPM average of those songs, and see if there's a correlation. Because
I'm on it.
if, dude, if you can figure this out, that's
I'm on it.
Or if we know anybody that lives in Arizona, we just have them walk up towards the stadium. He's probably going to be practicing it the day before. Just have him record it, put it out to the network sphere, and then we all win.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be good. But I'm a little concerned that they probably won't let that be heard. The sports books are
Oh,
probably
100%. They're probably, you know what? The sports books are like 17 steps ahead of us, right? So it's like if we were to have somebody randomly encounter the hearing, it's almost like the sports books were encouraging that because too much of the money was going one way, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna basically have this guy like blurt out the national anthem to where the entire city of Glendale is basically hearing it. That's how loud it is, and then people are gonna be like, oh, we got it out, it's this and that, and then come the day when all the money comes pouring in, it's like, here comes the extra guitar riff for 45 seconds that nobody mentioned, you know? And it's just, dude, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that could it be rigged? Could it not be rigged? Would actually be like, those are the things that you can rig. Like the Super Bowl where people are just throwing money towards nothing. Like, you think the books and Chris Stapleton aren't like, yo, dude, how long is your freaking anthem going to be? Give us like an idea. And we're like, oh, I've been practicing it. It's probably this many seconds. So they set the line. Otherwise, how in the world are they setting the line and being that damn accurate with the national anthem song singing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could go in and place a bet. Like, they could tell their family members that, oh, yeah, I'm going to hit the under. You know, it's a really weird bet.
I'm pretty sure Roger Goodell's like 1 minute 52 seconds, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, right.
If it's anything less than that, your body is never going to be found again, basically. And they're just gonna be like, oh, what happened to Chris Stapleton? Remember that guy? But yeah, propaganda over. Super Bowl 57 is going to be a fantastic matchup. Eagles, Chiefs, Chiefs, Eagles. Hurts, Mahomes. First black quarterback matchup in the history of the Super Bowl. Kelsey brothers, Reed coaching against his former team. You name it, man. I mean, again, the stories just write themselves. We're excited to be able to watch this game and then talk all about it next week. I'm Sweetcard. That is Shashot. That's Shovit. Hope you guys have a fantastic Super Bowl Sunday. Let's start a petition to get the day after the Super Bowl off as a federal holiday. I still don't know why it's not. Or let's have a petition to have the Super Bowl on fucking Saturday so that it can be as late as possible and we can just party all night long and then be able to recover the next day like normal human beings. Any final words before I sign us out?
Yeah, who the fuck is Chris Stapleton?
Why is he saying? I honestly have no idea who that is. I am so out of tune with music, but he is an American singer-songwriter. By the looks of his Google Images picture, he's got the beard, beard like 4 times your size, sus, and he's wearing a cowboy hat. So I think it's fair to assume he's a country singer.
I'll tell you how you know he's a country singer. So you know the song Tennessee Whiskey? He sings that
that's
song.
Chris Stapleton.
That's Chris Stapleton. That is a slow song, but
that is a very slow song.
Country songs are slower. Is there a YouTube video of Chris Stapleton practicing the national anthems? I don't know. We'll do some digging. Hope you guys enjoyed the Super Bowl. Win a lot of money. Again, we're the only playbook. We'll be back next week.